everybody. We'll just wait for everybody to kind of filter in here as we just got it kicked off. It's fun to have everybody on again. It's been a little while since I've had a chance to have everybody together. You guys will have to forgive my voice today. I had a little bit of a cold last week, and although I've recovered, my voice is not all the way. Yesterday it was a lot worse than it was today, but you know what happens when you lose your voice? It's always in the last place that you left it. Austria, awesome. We actually had a webinar earlier today for some of our folks that can't always make it. We're here in California in the United States, so our times in North America don't always fit the times that folks have in Europe or parts of Australia, Asia, the Pacific. So we did one earlier today where my colleague John Cole actually went over some of the material that kicks off Customer Week, and I know he deferred to me on a couple things, and it'll be something that we'll get into a little bit. But in case you have to leave a little bit early today, we will be doing this live recorded. So if you're registered for this webinar, you'll get the recording automatically. And we have a customer-week-2023 webpage that has all the resources for Customer Week as we get started today. So now it looks like we've got pretty much just everybody kind of filtering in still, but we'll go ahead and get started because I don't want to waste anybody's time today. So welcome to Customer Week. For those that don't know me, my name is Tyler Bishop. That sort of looks like me, and I find that I'm amazed more and more every day at what the AI that's available and some of the new modern technologies that are out there that are emerging all the time are able to produce and able to do. And that little character right there is, it's a video game avatar that some new tool spun up, and you can see in the background there under some of the bullet points there about me that, all those were generated by various tools and things like that as well. So pretty cool. I'm an award-winning marketer. I'm an executive here at Ezoic. I'm our chief marketing officer. I probably met or know at least some of you. It's been a while since we've been able to have a live event, a larger one that we used to do Pubtelligence at Google, and I would get a chance to meet a lot of you there. But I find that there's nothing that I enjoy more actually than talking to our customers, because I love to have my finger on the pulse of there's the industry space that we're in is so diverse, and it's changing all the time. And to better understand the challenges that all of you have, and be able to help solve some of those challenges, specifically the more difficult ones, is something I really enjoy. I'm a former Business Journal 30 Under 30. I used to own actually one of the largest jiu-jitsu sites on the web, and I've been a publisher for actually going on 2 decades now. So I've lived in the trenches, as many of you have as well. And I also own 2 Shiba Inus, and I'm a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. So that's where the Jiu-Jitsu website comes from. But I don't own it anymore. Pretty hard for me to maintain sites these days. I just don't have quite the same time to dedicate to it that I wish that I could. So a year ago, if we were to sit here and say, this is what's happened since the end of 2022 and since the start of 2023, even just the AI, the idea of AI generated content and what that means and what your concerns would be about it have already shifted and changed. And then whatever those were by probably March or April, those have probably shifted as well. I remember reading articles specifically about the rise of Bing and about how can Google maintain their lead on Bing as it rapidly accelerates its closing of that gap between the two. And I would say the sentiment now is quite a bit different than it was even then. And so I find that if you're really plugged into our industry, as many of you are, each month it sort of feels like things are different than they were the month before. You sort of have like a different macro idea of where things might be headed or where things are going or what your concerns could be. But that's one of the things we've seen over time in publishing. You can look back to something like the smartphone and you can say, well, look, these things, when you have a rapid sort of like acceleration because of a new innovation, it generally sort of speeds up for a while and until an entire sort of ecosystem has a chance to catch up. And that's one of the things that I find really interesting here is that we are definitely in that acceleration period, but I'm not sure that our sentiment or sort of the view that either myself or what I assume many of you on the call today have is that of the average person. And what I mean by the average person is, I mean somebody that's not basically making a living on the web or using AI as a part of their job or just even in everyday life. I think that we're probably early adopters overall in society. And you can look at something like the end of January or the end of December 2022, and there was 210 classified new capabilities that AI was able to do that year. And that was exponentially more than it was the year prior. However, in January of 2023, there was over 140. So you can see just the rapid acceleration of some of the capabilities that AI has had. So it's obviously top of mind, and it's the innovative thing that is probably going to change publishing in at least the same order of magnitude as something like the smartphone. But you can go back to 2013, 2014, and a lot of the predictions around mobile were some of them were overly sort of like imagining it solving the world's problems, and then others were maybe short-sighted in their view of what might be possible or how quickly it could be adopted. And you can kind of see here with AI across the whole world, just the sentiment regarding AI, and not only the sentiment, but just sort of the exposure to it. So even though it may be something that's the latest, greatest, and top of mind trend in our space, globally it's something that's still relatively new, and user behavior generally is a little bit of a sluggard in comparison to basically all of us that are living on the cutting edge. And generative AI is something that actually, if you look at it so far, it looks like it's going to go a little bit faster than previous innovations. I mean, you can see it for yourself. I mean, this is something, it's kind of funny because I remember in December at the end of last year doing kind of the similar test with GPT-3, and it did have some information, but you can see here the various models. So I went ahead and gave all three the same question. Who is Tyler Bishop at Ezoic? The first two models, GPT-3 and 4, they seemed to generally, they didn't really want to commit to who I was specifically. GPT-3 was just, throwing shade my way. It didn't even want to act like, it knew who I was, but I feel like it knew deep down, But the thing is that you have these different models, but now you also have this idea of agents and all the things that they can do. And I find that you're probably like me in that you find that your imagination starts to wander relatively quickly. And I think that, the predictions on where AI will go in the future have become a little bit like dreams to me, meaning when somebody tells you about a dream that they had, it's never very interesting. It's usually something that's kind of personal, and you end up going just sort of like weird. But it's not all that meaningful because it's a dream. The basis in reality isn't necessarily all that relevant. And I find that it's the same with AI predictions. We all probably could sit around in a circle and go around and have all kinds of bold or innovative or interesting, to say the least, ideas around where things might go or where they might go next. But that's where I will actually draw back. I love to dream as much as anybody. But one of the things that I think is a risk in this current environment when things are rapidly expanding like this is to be convinced that there is a direction that things are headed, even though like there's still a fair like gap to cross there. So, I think a couple years ago, if you would have asked most folks working in the AI space, creative work, writing, producing, creating art, when is AI going to be able to do that? And they would say, well, that'll be one of the last things that it's able to do. And even though you could make the argument now that many of the creative works that you would see produced by AI, you could say, it's a pretty nice little plagiarism machine, this was something that was fundamentally wrong. AI can actually do creative work quite well. And then you have a lot of the ones that I was hearing at the start of this year, which is you better get ready. We don't know if search engines will make it to the end of the year, and that may have been the more extreme cases, but like you can even look at something like Bing. Once ChatGPT integrated Bing and Bing integrated ChatGPT into their search functions, you didn't see this massive user flow go towards those tools. Someone like my wife, for example, who is not plugged into our space very well, she was completely unaware. She even asked me the other day, she's like, oh, is Bing still doing that? So is Bing ChatGPT? She's asking me these types of questions, and I think that gives you an idea of how real life users may not adapt to the same speed at which we might be able to predict based on the knowledge and information that we have. SEO is dead. You hear that at least once a year. And even though the recent Google update, the helpful content one, I've heard all kinds of varying opinions and ideas around it, but it really is kind of business as usual for Google. I mean, there really hasn't been a time in the last few years where they haven't done something that was fundamentally disruptive in the minds of some sites to their search algorithm. In fact, if you go back over a decade, the Hummingbird updates and the Panda updates, those are far more disruptive. So even though the flavor might change a little bit, Google changing things is not all that fundamentally different. And then humans versus AI. Who would have thought? They're pretty good at being us. And if you thought that this might be something that actually was going to harm publishers, I think it's a fair concern to have. The good news is, if you look at internet and web trends globally, and I'm talking about the web, not mobile apps or things along those lines, you sort of see this trend that the internet web is still very healthy. That was a big fundamental, decision behind Google's site speed and many of the other decisions that they've made over the years, is they're trying to make sure that the open web stays alive, because you use an app on your smartphone, for example, that's a pretty great experience. But if we move to a world in which there was no browsers or no open web and everybody used apps for everything, you quickly see how publishers would be consolidated. You get a lot of your information and use a very small number of maybe app publishers as opposed to the web. So the web being very healthy is good for our business. And you can kind of see here the acceleration of GPT and something like search in the open web still growing. Those two things don't have to be at the cost of each other. And that's one of the things that I really want us to try to maybe take away from this, is because I would say, if I asked everybody that's on this call, what is your concern about technology innovation that's occurring in our space over the next decade, 5 years, I would guess that the majority of, and maybe I'm wrong here, would give me some kind of answer, or at least include something along the lines of AI, potentially, displacing, the role that you have in terms of creating content, or Google search and a combination of AI and search engines or something along those lines, being able to replace what it is that you provide, your customers, which are your visitors, and your content being the product that you sell. You can see that ChatGPT in particular has grown faster than just about any other technology in terms of uptake and usage. But I mean, you look at even the smartphone, it was, at least 3 to 4 years before it was something that was really widely well used. I remember people standing in line to buy it when it first came out and just thinking like, huh, they put a iPod into a phone, weird. And I think that that's the thing that sticks out to me about AI in particular. To me, it's been exciting over the past year just to see all the new things that are available. I sort of always have that view, but I want to encourage everybody to sort of think this way, because I think there's an immense opportunity for our customers and for websites and publishers as a whole. And the truth is that AI is, at least for now, for all of you, it's opening far more doors than it's closing. So if you want to turn ideas into reality, I don't know about you, but I own a lot of domains that don't really, the idea that I had when I bought that domain didn't ever really make it off the ground. And yeah, I find that that's a pretty similar experience whenever I start to talk to other publishers. And not only that, if I'm working on a project or something like that, I may have 10 ideas that I think are great that I would love to do, and I might even get excited and start on one of them. But then you realize, like, man, carrying this through, it's a lot of time, it's a lot of energy, and you don't really have a chance to execute on things that are, distinctly unique to you, your experiences, the expertise that you have. Maybe these ideas are good, and the actual manual labor of executing on some of them doesn't need to be you. And I've tried to embrace that, and I find that there's things that used to take me days or weeks that maybe could be done in hours now. And one person now also has the same abilities as a developer, a designer, a writer, an editor, and not just one, but potentially thousands. And I think it's being able to harness that power is where I see the opportunity for publishers. And so, it kind of begs the question. I think this is probably a question that was a little bit more, maybe dicey if you really pressed me on it at the start of the year. But is AI a website friend or foe? And I think it's both. But probably not for the same reasons why you would imagine. So I don't imagine, my fear is not that AI will take the job of the content website or even just content creation in general. My concern with AI in terms of its risk to website publishers is really the approach to using it. So I think the idea that AI is going to be a replacement you is pretty unlikely. And not only that, I think that strategy is one that may lead you in the wrong direction. What I've found is that the publishers and the organizations that are finding AI to be more of a tool or a toolbox are finding a lot more success. And the reason for that is you sort of have to look at this word AI, and you can replace it with the idea of a staff. And I think that that's really the thing that I want to instill with everybody as we kind of walk through some of the things that I'm excited to talk to you guys about that we've been hard at work at here at Ezoic to help all of our publishers. Essentially, we want to, we're getting a little bit of feedback. There we go. Thank you. We essentially want to help our customers harness the productivity and the expertise of an entire staff without having to manage it all. And one of the things that comes with managing a staff, especially one where you do employ experts, one of the things that I've learned over the course of my career is that when you have folks that are expert in a certain field, to have no knowledge of that field or no knowledge of the projects or tasks to sort of put them on, it kind of puts you at a disadvantage because you're not able to truly take advantage of that person's full skill set. And so that's one of the things that I think you'll find that we've built into a lot of the things that we're announcing today, making available today, or you may have seen or start to see over the coming weeks. And the first part of that is really getting you the output of a full staff. How do we help our publishers essentially have an expert team that executes for them and is able to help them carry out the sort of tasks and projects that they imagine would help them grow. So manpower. The second is access to the expertise and the wisdom to be able to direct that manpower, to be able to make data-driven decisions that are in your best interests, that you understand and are not sort of like a little bit mysterious in terms of, what it means, but something that allows you to feel comfortable with what is it that the data tells me and what can and should I do about that. The third is, how do you focus more so on the strategic ideas, the larger picture, the ideas that you imagine whenever you're driving home or you're in the shower and you're thinking of these sort of like ideas that are creative. How do we help you focus on those things and how you get there and what the opportunities might be for your website or for your business, and less time where you're actually carrying out the manual work, the updating the plugins or the troubleshooting site issues or renewing domain names. How do we get you to be able to where those things are carried out for you and you can focus more on an executive role for your website or business. And then the last is, delivering to you the capabilities of a expert in every field. You heard me at the start. I'm a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and so I've done martial arts for a very long time. And I think that earning a black belt is a lot about just spending time on the mats a lot of times. And I think that being able to deliver to somebody the wisdom, not just sort of the knowledge, is a key component to really extracting the true value of AI. And I think that you'll see that that's really the target that we have. So one of the first things that you'll start to notice inside of your Ezoic dashboards this week, some of you may have seen some of these things before because they've been in beta, but you'll see an expansion, or hopefully for some of you, you're able to find out about some of this today. So one of the things that I think really helps publishers with their sort of strategic direction, and it can also be a point that holds them up from time to time, is really the strategic element of being able to plan and chart a destination that universally is the right one. Meaning, if I was to come and work with somebody maybe on this call that has just gotten into publishing, I've been doing it for a long time, work in the space, have access to a lot of websites, knowledge and data. And if they were to say, okay, well, I want to grow my site, I could say, okay, great. Grow could mean a lot of things. It could mean revenue. It could be traffic. It could be both. Maybe it's UX. But I could say, okay, well, here are the keywords that are going to be the most profitable. And they could say, well, I don't really like those ones. It doesn't really speak to the audience that I want to attract. I'm really passionate about X, Y, or Z. I'm not going to be able to have a ton of content to write after, these particular topics. So then I could say, okay, well, let's focus on that audience then. We go do more keyword research. And then ultimately what we're going to find out is that every site is going to be a fair amount different. If you were working with, an SEO expert or a data science team or a research team or an analyst, you're going to find that you are going to have preferences that others don't. And that's one of the reasons why many of the SEO tools and quite frankly, even the AI that's out there do about half the job that a publisher needs to have done. And we've been very particular about building SEO or keyword or topics, as we like to really call them here, products, because we sort of see many of them as the same, providing lots of arbitrary data that in context, equipped by an expert, it could be meaningful, and obviously some of it is. But we wanted to provide something a little bit more specific, something that we've seen our customers, the larger ones, benefit from over time, and that is a data science team, somebody that's able to conduct analysis, research, and give you a good idea of, what sort of directions are ultimately going to help you be more profitable, grow faster, where are the opportunities for you. And so that's one of the things that you'll notice has been supercharged inside of Niche IQ, which is inside of your Ezoic dashboard. It's a full SEO topic suite, so you can use it to do what you might consider keyword research, but we'd strongly contend it's more sort of topic suggestion, because realistically, it's going to give you the information that you need to be able to take action that's meaningful to you to create content. Same thing from a competitor's overview standpoint. You can also look at things like on-page SEO, where you may want to edit, write, or alter your content in some way, but you're not really sure where the best bang for the buck is. It's one of the most well-known sort of SEO strategies to go back and augment your old content, but wouldn't it be great if you knew where those opportunities were, what to do, and where the biggest bang for your buck is by looking at competitor sites? And it takes a lot of time, but now imagine it's seconds. I think that that's one of the things that I hope that everybody that's on this call will take the chance to go and explore a little bit further. And I think one of the things that I'm very aware of with something like a niche IQ, and even the innovation in AI that we were talking about earlier, is that AI can write content, but if me and someone else on this call decide we're going to start a site on American football, I might say, I don't really have time to run a site. I'm not going to write the content. They might say, not me neither. So we say, well, let's just have AI write all the content. Well, there's a lot of websites out there that kind of cover American football quite well. There's also a couple major news agencies and media behemoths that do it quite well as well. So what is AI going to provide that's, of any value to consumers, to the World Wide Web? And I think the answer is probably none. And so being able to direct that AI, we provide no value. But if I have value in terms of maybe specific knowledge, jiu-jitsu, for example, I don't have to write the content for my expertise, my knowledge, my wisdom, my understanding of this topic to be something of value to my audience. Now, what particular topics is my audience interested? Which ones are going to earn me the most money? Which ones? That's maybe a little harder for me. But if I paired something like a niche IQ and a lot of our sort of like topic suggestion suite and SEO products inside of Ezoic to something like a Writio, which is a publisher-specific SEO writer that's designed specifically to write SEO-optimized articles based on topics that you provide. It can write in a style that learns from your existing writing styles or your writer's existing writing styles. It can be a draft creator where it basically is just creating drafts for you to go in and edit. It's got its own license-free media library that's generating images and basically crafting something that you would probably outsource to a writer, a good one to do, but it's built into all of your processes. And so this is one of the things that we've been wanting to do a lot more of. And starting this week, you'll be able to, straight from Niche IQ, send your topics that are suggested, the ones that you would put as, hey, I want to write about these ones, or these are ones I want to execute on. You can actually integrate directly with Writio, send the topics over, and it will write them, put them directly into your CMS. It'll even publish them, and go back and cut out any that maybe just sit on the web and nothing happens. Most content on the internet never gets any traffic. You can actually give Writio certain rules or settings that will allow it to go in and just trim back any articles that it's written over time that you don't maybe want on your website. But you can basically choose your own adventure there. You can automate literally everything, or you can basically just, use it as a staff that requires your approval. And then the third is levels. So when we start talking about the strategy and the production, being able to do research, plan a path, and then also be able to execute on that path, you can see where Writio and Niche IQ and a seamless integration there being something of real value. But one of the things that has stood out to me for, frankly, years at Ezoic is I've watched our staff help, especially even our customers that are starting out, solve problems that are not necessarily or fundamentally not Ezoic problems, but just in general problems. And I think one of the things that we've gleaned from that is the reason why many folks in our space don't provide support for any broader website products, whether it be a WordPress plugin or even somebody like Google with AdSense, is because the number of things that make a website unique or may create a different use case for one than another. Websites are like people, and that no one is the exact same genetically as another person, and that's why it's like you could give two people a drug, and for most people maybe this drug provides no side effects, and for one particular person maybe it's an allergy or something else. Something goes terribly wrong, and you might not know why because it's unique to that person. And I think where we found that publishers find a lot of value in someone like Ezoic is working directly with our people, and whenever we can help you solve sort of the bigger problems, these strategic ones. And a couple of years ago, we launched Levels, which allowed us in part to introduce Access Now, which allowed our publishers of all shapes and sizes to begin using Ezoic as early as they would want. And then we would provide greater levels of service and additional benefits and things like that to our customers as they grew, because that's sort of when you need those things. You need the support as you grow, and you need different things as you get to different places. And when you get larger, you do need sometimes expert direction, because sometimes you're navigating this path for the first time. So what we've done now is we've launched Levels 1.5. So it's globally available to all of our publishers. So this is something that was really important to us, because when we launched Levels initially, it wasn't available to all publishers yet, and now it is. And we've actually done away with Access Now. We've upgraded all Access Now pubs, and all in the future will be able to just join at level 1. So it just really simplifies it. So nothing really changes for any of those of you that are in Access Now. You're now a level 1 publisher, you'll start to see. And when you start a new site and you want to get it onto Ezoic fast, then by all means, join. You go right into level 1, and you'll notice the experience is pretty similar there, but it just sort of simplifies things for our customers, because one of the things we want to do is there's a lot of services that we provide, especially our level 3 and level 4 sites, that I don't know get fully taken advantage of, that we've found, and you'll hear later this week with a conversation with my colleague Jeff Bernard. He's going to tell you a little bit about what some of those things are and how to get the most about them. And yeah, I think simplifying and making things easier for our customers is really fundamental and important for that. So the fourth, and this is one that you may go, well, Humix, I think I've seen that, or I've heard about that before. I think our video products are a good example of an area where that clarity that I was mentioning and sort of simplification, how do you get the value out of something like that? That is a bigger problem than just our service offerings. And I think if there's one thing I've heard from Ezoic customers more over the years than anything else, it's that I know that there's a lot of stuff in Ezoic, and there's probably things that would benefit me or help my revenue or help my website grow, but I just don't know how to take advantage of it. And I think that Humix is so to give you an example, Humix is our video network for publishers. You can kind of think of it as an owned video network in the same way that YouTube is a place for websites or for video creators that are wanting to just upload their videos to seek an audience. You are uploading your video to a platform. They're all governed by their rules, and sometimes you'll find that content creators don't really love how those get applied to them. And not only that, but being able to choose how you want to monetize that video content and potentially even be able to market it. Those things are really important, and I think Humix brings that experience that all of you have as a website owner, where you can monetize your site however you should choose, affiliate, display advertising, how with display advertising, and even market it. You own your domain, you own all your content. It's stored someplace where you are the rightful owner. we've wanted to bring that experience to video creators as well. And Humix allows us to do that because outside of YouTube, there's not many places you can go for reach. And Humix has hundreds of millions of views that go through our platform every month. And I think that it's one of the things that you can look at with Humix and say, well, it's worth it. If you make video content, to upload your video to something like Humix is worth it because you can reach an audience. But the double-edged sword in a positive way, I always think double-edged sword is usually negative context, but the double-edged sword that's a positive one with this is that sites without video also have a benefit, and that's the beauty of this network. Is you have Humix where you can upload, share, and earn from videos that you're able to upload to Humix that get shared across all our websites that want to display them and our network partners. But if you don't have video, this is an area where I think you'll see things have changed quite a bit in the last year. So number one, I would say, and this is my, I guess you could say this is objective, but I don't think I will get many arguments from those of you that have used both. Humix is now incredibly easy to use and begin experimenting with on your website. So you can just get an iframe, boom, copy paste. You can, instead of putting a YouTube video on your site, you can use Humix. You can upload videos there to put them on your site, to have them shared. You can share the videos. And when you share videos on your site from the Humix network, you're actually going to earn 50% of the revenue that is generated from that view. And because of that, the thing is that we want to make sure that our publishers are essentially trying to, help each other and leverage the network that we've all built together. And with Humix, you have something that is able to do that. And our new Bucks universal video player allows publishers to extract a significantly higher amount of revenue while providing a better user experience to their end visitors. And we do this by, you can kind of look at the way that people, I think, look at videos and ads. And I think because Ezoic is so correlated with advertising and almost all of our customers use our Ezoic ads on their site, that, you think of video as video ads. Well, there's many different types of video ads. And one of the things is that video ads displaying in a display unit are quite a bit different than videos displaying in a video player. For example, advertisers that would try to advertise for video inventory on a piece of video content. So Humix videos, not only do they show up on our sites, but they get indexed in search results, just like a YouTube video. So if you just go to that YouTube video from search results, or you go to that Humix video, there's going to, and let's say you run a pre-roll ad, the people that bid on that are people that are buying video advertising, which oftentimes fetches a premium, and there's maybe a fair amount of competition for certain audiences that way that are maybe more lucrative than written content. However, the video ads that would show in a display unit are competing for display revenue on written content pages. So you get a very different type of what they would call inventory that's available to advertisers. So you can just think of that as the space that you're selling. And so our new Bucks Universal Player allows sites to upload their own videos, share videos, but if you have video on your site and they're YouTube videos, you would do yourself a pretty big favor, I would imagine, by finding a Humix video to share on there. And if you don't want to go looking through the libraries, we'll also match the content. And I think as you see over the course of the next few months, as more and more YouTubers and creators are able to join our platform, as we make it available to them, we'll find that they have increased our inventory quite a bit. And I think that sort of like it encompasses the flow that I would imagine I really want us to take away from this experience today, which is that we want to try to help you by equipping you with the resources to make decisions that are in your best interests. I think one of the things that even a partner that I'm aware of working with all of you is that even though we might all have aligned interests, we might not have the same interests. So what I mean is, you could go to somebody as an individual website owner, let's say, my good friend here, producer Manny, who's running the boards today behind the scenes. Let's say he comes to me and says, Tyler, I have a website. I want to increase the revenue. And I say, great, let's do it. I have a great plan. He's like, as long as you make the revenue go up. I say, great, let's do it. And I make the revenue go up, but 2 years down the line, his site, maybe it gets banned. We were doing a lot of things maybe that just weren't, they were against policy. And he goes, well, Tyler, I said, I wanted to make more money. And I said, well, we did, but maybe not in his best long-term interests, maybe in mine. And I think that that's the most cynical view. But realistically, you may have a vision or a strategy or a plan or an idea or a creation that you want to execute on, but you don't maybe have the expertise or the resources. We want to be able to provide you with those, both through technology and the services that we provide, so that you can execute on those things yourself. And I think that no area will you have seen more, sort of changes there where it makes it easier, more approachable, is in Ezoic ads. I think that you'll find that over the next 6 months, year, this will be an area that we continue to evolve around. Those that have been around a long time that have many sites with us, you go back maybe 2 or 3 years ago and setting up a site on Ezoic to now, and it truly amazes me, because I think maybe 5, 6 years ago, no one believed that you could, have a site that is able to set itself up with a sophisticated ad operations configuration, especially a smaller site. And the big ones have different challenges. And so being able to control your revenue and your advertising in a very granular way that's easy and understandable, I think has been a very strong emphasis for where we focus a lot of our manpower over the past year, and I think you'll continue to see areas where that is improving. And I think these are all very specific things that we focus on developing for all of you, because we want to equip you with the tools and the technologies that we've heard over the years you want, need, and we've tried to take a thoughtful approach of, in our position where, we're one of very few parties that also provides and is able to help you kind of tie revenue to things. So you can look at SEO as a good example. It's really hard to get a feel on the ROI of SEO efforts because you don't have anything else that's connecting your SEO efforts and your revenue. But we are uniquely positioned for that. And I think being able to make a smarter decision on how you approach SEO in the context of revenue is a very strong thing for our publishers. And I think as I look out over the next 3 to 4 years, the things that we've been talking about today, those are the things that I look at and I go, that's what I would want. And that's what I would want to use to be able to execute on what I think is an immense opportunity for our publishers. I think that the next 3 to 4 years are not filled as with many pitfalls as it is shortcuts for many publishers in terms of growth. And I think that those that are able to capitalize on that, I think the future is very bright. And I think one of the things that we've wanted to do a lot more of is provide transparency using the information and unique position that we have, where there's probably, I would say we're probably quite unique in terms of the span, breadth, and type of data that we have from tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of sites in some categories. There's probably no greater example than this in the ad revenue index. It's industry recognized as pretty much the most accurate feel for global display ad rates and which way they're trending. For a long time, I can remember 10 years ago, everybody would just go on forums and say, is revenue up or down? Is it just me or is it everybody else? Primarily whenever revenue was down. And you'd have to wait until you got, a decent amount of people on there that would say, oh, well, mine's down too, and you'd chalk it up to seasonality. Now you can go and see on the ad revenue index, but now we've launched Ad Revenue Index 2.0. And this is something that's not just a customer thing. We've provided this to the industry because we think that ultimately, if you have better data, more information, it'll help you make better decisions. And and realistically, I've held the day since view one that if everybody knew what I knew, everybody would be an Ezoic customer. And I think that the site speed library is something that is of immense value to our customers that I don't know is truly fully utilized. So it's something we've published publicly. So now non-Ezoic publishers can access our site speed library, which includes true core web vital scores on live sites across the web. So every plugin you can imagine, every script that you put in your header, is that hurting your site speed? And you can actually go and find alternatives to those things. And if you're an Ezoic user, you don't have to use the public. Go right into the Leap tab in your dashboard, and you'll find that we actually will make recommendations, we'll identify this stuff, but you can browse through the library, and maybe there's a faster table of contents plugin or something like that that you could be swapping out if you wanted to affect site speed. So I'm very much in favor of, I want everybody to have the same data that I have, and that's something that I think you'll see more and more from us over the course of the next year. And so if there's a theme that I want you to kind of maybe take away today, and something to hopefully spark your interest and maybe diving a little bit deeper later this week as we go into some of these individual items and what they mean, it's that we want to empower you to do less, or we want to empower you to do more with less. We don't want to empower you to do less. I'd prefer you to do more. I want everybody here to reach great heights, because I'm very inspired by talking to a lot of our publishers. You guys remind me in many ways of the spirit that I approach just about everything in life with, which is sounds like an adventure. And I think that it takes a certain amount of boldness and courage to do that. And I think one of the things that can slow that down or be really discouraging is being dependent on more and more parties that seemingly are gatekeepers. And I want to eliminate those, not just for you, but I think that there's an opportunity to finally rid the industry in our space of many of the folks that sort of live in the in-betweens here. So we want to be able to help you produce high-quality SEO, high-quality content. We want to drive the price down for you and also make it a lot easier to execute at scale and fulfill the ideas that you have. And I think that you'll see that the suite of products that we've been building, had previously announced or updated, that those things will continue to evolve in a probably pretty linearly positive direction. And I would say that if you're not consistently going into your dashboard and going to some of the tabs and checking out some of these products or looking into some of the new products that are available that we've integrated with, I would say, maybe at least once a month, maybe give it a look, because there's a lot of things that we update on a regular basis, too many to try to make an announcement or try to, over communicate to everyone exactly what's happened. But I think you'll find that there's, probably something in there new that you'll find valuable. So I would say if you've checked something out before, check it out again. And I'll leave you sort of with that a little bit, but I will sort of tease this week that tomorrow we have an SEO event with Gerard, who's one of our data scientists here at Ezoic, and he's going to be walking us through exactly how things work under the hood behind Niche IQ and why we built it the way that we did, and why we think that it, for content websites, provides something that's never been provided before and should accelerate sort of like the value that you get out of something like SEO. So that's tomorrow. And then the following day, there's a conversation with myself and Jeff Bernard, who's our Publisher Success Director. And Jeff and I will be talking a little bit more about how we've specifically helped some of our customers and what types of things are available and how you should maybe take advantage of those things and what you can do about it. And so if you want to dig more into Niche IQ and Writio, join me tomorrow with Gerard. And then on Wednesday, join me with Jeff. And if you register for those, we will send you the recordings. So no need to, if it's a hard time to get to or something like that, just register. We'll send it to you automatically. All these resources will be available on our Customer Week landing page, which I believe was linked in some of the emails that we sent out. But I'm sure you'll be able to find it also on our social media. And I think last but not least, we also have I think it's the State of Digital Publishing is doing a special event that you can access from the Customer Week page that allows you to view. Emily Brennan will be having a discussion about Humix and sort of what we have planned there, and really some of the cool stuff that we have planned for creators and why that benefits all of our publishers in terms of giving you quality video that you can share. And yeah, I'm hopeful that you will continue to see how these things are maybe once thought of as not something you could do, that now is something that you can basically be good at. And there would be no greater joy that I would see or feel, and I know everybody inside of our building here at Ezoic would be happy to celebrate with you, is that if you were able to do something tomorrow that you couldn't do today because of our tools and technology. So I want to thank everybody for joining. I'll review some of the questions in here, and if we've got a decent amount of questions, or if I notice throughout the week that there's things that persist or things that maybe I can provide context to, we'll maybe source those questions or do a Q&A or something like that. It's really up to you guys. I love this week because it is my chance to interact with so many customers, and I hope you have a chance to kind of explore some of the things we talked about today and dig a little bit deeper throughout the week. But I want to thank everybody once again for joining. On behalf of everybody here at Ezoic, welcome to Customer Week and happy Customer Week. Thank you.